Great. Well, Jennifer, thank you very much for joining us today here at Queensferry Museum with the lovely views out the window.
It's beautiful.
Could you just start by introducing yourself?
Yep, sure. My name's Jennifer. I've got 2 children and I stay in Livingston in West Lothian and I work in the third sector. I work for the third sector interface, so basically quite involved with charities and voluntary organisations. I'm half Kenyan, my mum is from Kenya and my dad's Scottish.
Okay, great. So could you tell us a little bit about your childhood and your background?
Yep, sure.
Kind of where you grew up and...
Great. I grew up just over the water in Rosyth in Fife. We lived there. We had quite a big house, a bungalow, and my sister was there, my brother, my mum and my dad, so there was 5 of us. And I went to primary school in Fife, and I also went to high school. And then when I was about 19, I went to university in Edinburgh, so I moved over.
Okay. Do you know, have you been told about the story of your mum coming across to Scotland?
That's right. Yeah, when we were growing up, it was always really a big part of our childhood is talking about or learning about my mum's experiences of life, her time in the village in Kenya, how she met our dad, and then how she came over to Britain. So it was always a part of our life, our Kenyan culture and what life was like in Kenya for her.
And what was your sort of early social and your school life like in Rosyth?
It was different. Well, we always felt a little bit different. I'm not so sure about my sister, but for myself, I always kind of felt that I didn't really fit in. I'd get little comments at school about different colour of skin and just kids making silly comments. So it was a great childhood. We had a brilliant time. Our parents would take us so many different amazing places. But in terms of schooling, I never really enjoyed it because I just always felt a little bit out of the loop, basically. But the funny thing is, I didn't actually realise my mum had dark skin until I was probably about 10. She was just my mum, so you literally do not see colour, you don't see race. It was just when I got a little bit older I realised we were a bit of a different family, and everyone knew us because we were a little bit different, but it wasn't always negative, positive as well. And
were there other children at the school from different backgrounds?
Maybe there was an Asian child, a child from Asian background, but there was definitely no African families at all, no.
So was it mostly when you moved into high school, did you meet people from different backgrounds, or was it kind of the move to Edinburgh? More?
Yeah, I'd say in high school there was 2 girls in my class that were Pakistani, but they were always picked on really badly. They both wore hijabs, so they stuck out as being the other, being very different. So I wouldn't say it was until I actually went to Edinburgh and moved to university that I felt I really relished the diversity and I appreciated it, and it wasn't a negative then, it was more of a positive.
What can you tell me a bit about your kind of opinions and your thoughts about Scottish culture as well? Did you grow up learning about that as well? Or?
I think because growing up and feeling quite different, then when I reached about 13 years old, I made friends with some other kids that were half Kenyan as well, and we'd come over to Edinburgh and spend time with them. And that was when I started to kind of disassociate myself with Scottish culture. I thought, I don't really belong, they don't really accept me, so I'm not Scottish. So I always felt like I'm really into my black culture and kind of looking more to American culture, I'd say, for black people. And yeah, I didn't feel Scottish, I didn't feel included, I felt quite isolated. But then as I got older, I kind of saw a different side to belonging and what being Scottish means. And as I then went to university and I met people from different organisations that were really Scottish, and then I started to say, well, what culture do I belong to? What do I associate with home? And it was always Scotland. So yeah, my opinions have really changed.
Okay. Do you see any similarities and differences between the Kenyan culture and the Scottish culture? Is there quite a clash there, or is there?
That's really interesting. I've never thought of it that way, and I must say I don't feel that I know Kenyan culture at all as well as I know Scottish culture. So even though I feel like a black Scottish person or mixed race Scottish, I don't really feel like a Kenyan as such. So in terms, I don't know enough about Kenyan culture really to say whether there's so many similarities really.
Were there any particularly difficult situations when you were growing up?
I think just being the different person in a group. So maybe you're out with your friends and you're, maybe after school you go shopping and someone makes a comment, like kids passing by, then you will feel very like you just don't belong. But then actually now it's really changed. I'd say being different, I don't know, it makes you can be more popular, so people are more interested in you. Where do you come from? Where's your background? Like the friends that I have are really diverse and we love the diversity. So I think it just depends on the stage of your life that you're in.
Yeah. And do you have any particularly enjoyable, memorable parts of your childhood?
Oh yeah, of course. It was brilliant. We lived just near here. The countryside, the scenery was beautiful. We were able to go on holiday. Our parents took us to Kenya. We went so many different places around the world that a lot of our friends never had the opportunity to see. And being mixed race, you always feel that you have a different view of the world. You don't feel so kind of contained. So maybe there's something on television, in the news, political. You've just got a bit of a different approach of how you understand things. You've got a different view, perspective.
Sure. And how did you find going to Kenya for the first time?
Well, we were really young. I was about 5 years old and we loved it. We were in the countryside, we were in the village, there was animals and the family was so welcoming and loving. So we've always had really positive experiences when we've been to Kenya, great memories.
And have you been back a few times?
Yeah, I think I've been about maybe 5 times, but I'd always say there as well, I've always felt like a little bit, an outsider, because you're going into a culture. And I remember the kids from the school used to come after school and just stare at us, and we were called the white people. So they'd call us Mzungu. They'd come to watch us after school. It was like such a big deal. And you just see them hiding behind bushes and they would just watch us like we were strange creatures from another planet. So we never really felt that included in Kenyan culture either, because we didn't speak the language, so it wasn't the easiest to access, but what we could access of it we loved.
You mentioned that you work in the charity sector. What inspired you to get into that?
I think, actually what inspired me was when we were growing up, my mum would always struggle with certain things. So for example, filling out forms, application forms, has always been a bit of a challenge because she didn't finish school, and she'd always ask us for some assistance, and that was the norm for us in our house. And my sister was really good at, making the links and, helping out. And I just always felt that if I could provide that support to others that need it. So that's why I was always kind of attracted to working within charities, I'd say.
Okay. And do you think your heritage, on both sides of your heritage, impacted the work on the work that you're doing at the moment?
Definitely. I'd say my interests, I love traditional African dance and music, and I would say that it's from growing up with a huge diversity. So we'd go to lots of different African events, and it was just colour, and it was fun, and it was music, and it was sound. And then we were part of a dance group when we were young, and then that kind of developed, and that's where my kind of passions have developed. So I'd say it's definitely due to my heritage. I'd say I'm quite lucky because a lot of people, African people that are interested in the arts or they're performers, they often can't promote themselves. Maybe they don't have the social media skills, but being dual heritage, you grew up in the British education system, so quite lucky to have developed different, to be educated and get good skills. Yeah.
And you feel that being mixed race, you can relate to different people a bit more?
Yeah, I would say so, because our perspective, we've got kind of two different perspectives. Yes, I'd say so.
Have you got any particular achievements that you're particularly proud of?
I'm really proud of, I'm a mum to 2 girls, and their father's from Senegal, so they are half Senegalese, quarter Kenyan, quarter Scottish. And I think, for me personally, I think Scottish culture, how I view it now, as being so welcoming and open. We don't face I can say I can't recall a single instance where the girls have come home and have felt that they don't belong. They know that this is their home and this is their culture. So maybe things are changing. So in terms of achievement, yeah, I'm really proud of being a mum, and I'm really proud of the work that I do kind of promoting African arts in Scotland, and I think people are so keen. They love diversity. Edinburgh especially is so multicultural, so yeah, it's great. It's really it's good. Gives me a lot of confidence.
In your own household with your kids having Senegalese background as well, do they speak French, for example?
Well, yeah, they go to French classes and they've been to Senegal 2 or 3 times. But again, it's going to be the same for them. They're never going to be 100% Senegalese.
Sure.
So when we go to Senegalese events and functions, they love it, they enjoy it, but they've never grown up there. So accessing a culture is quite different. But I'm trying my best to kind of give them the skills that they need.
Sure. Do you think that you'll ever take them to Kenya as well?
Yes, I'd love to take them to Kenya, but I'd love my mum to be there because it's my mum's homeland and she would be the best tour guide for us.
Sure.
It's really, she has the history and I feel that I don't have it, and they'd get a much better experience. So would I if my mum was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any aspects of Scotland that you particularly relate to that you...
Yes. 7 years ago, we were invited to an event at Edinburgh Castle, and it was the UN People of African Descent Day, which is a really long title. And Nicola Sturgeon was there, and this was before she was First Minister. And she came and she spent the evening with us, and she spoke about the contributions that people of the African diaspora have made in Scotland. And we got photos taken with her, and that, I just thought, for me, that sums up now what I see to Scottish culture to be. It's inclusive, welcoming to others, and really interested in developing diversity.
Okay, great. Is there any aspects of your kind of Kenyan heritage that you particularly want to hold on to or that you celebrate?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one because, again, I'd say I feel more like I have an African heritage than a Kenyan heritage because
Sure.
I don't really feel so much attached to that culture, but I'd say definitely I feel really proud to have African and to have those kind of experiences and making sure that my children know what, proud to be African as well.
Oh. And I was wondering, if over the years, has your feelings about Scotland changed at all?
Yes, definitely. As I said, when I was growing up, when I was young, I did feel Scottish culture was very exclusionary, if that's the right word. I felt quite racist, but actually, I don't know if it's just people's mentality has changed, or maybe it was just where we were living, but definitely my opinion has changed. I feel really proud to be Scottish. I'm definitely Scottish, 100%. Yeah. And Scottish can mean so many different things as well.
Sure.
Like you can go to a school in Tollcross and you've got children that speak Spanish at home, they speak Gaelic, they speak everything. Their parents are a mix, but they're Scottish at the end of the day.
Yeah. In general, do you think that immigration has had a positive effect on Scotland?
Yes, I think definitely. I think Scottish people are very welcome to change and they love to learn about different cultures. I'd say probably a negative consequence is that certain people can feel very nervous and they want to protect what's theirs. And but overall, I can't say I've experienced that in the past 15 to 20 years. So yeah, I'd say positive.
Have you noticed a change in people's attitudes since the different referendums have happened?
Yeah, it's been really interesting because I have quite a few English friends, really good English friends from university, and they have felt really wary and worried about Scottish independence, whereas most of the kind of ethnic minority people that I've met are really welcoming of it. So I suppose to be Scottish can mean different things for different people. I mean, I have heard of more instances since Brexit has come around of especially European people feeling that not as comfortable in Britain or in Scotland as they did feel before. But in terms of the referendum, I think it's very positive.
Have your own views or opinions on Scotland changed with the different referendums that have happened?
No, I'd say I'm always really pro-Scottish independence, and I still am. It's not changed at all.
Well, that's great. That's everything we have. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Good.